You're listening to AM 1240 on News Talk Radio and Nooganomics.com. Watch with Keon Rose. Thank you so much for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. This has gotten out of hand. This has gotten absolutely out of control. The media blows stuff out of proportion all the time, and we see it. You know, every time Donald Trump nominates somebody to his cabinet, are some of those things concerning in some ways? Yes. But are some of those things as big a deal as every nomination of Donald Trump, the biggest deal ever? It's the end of the world? No. But this is where we are in our 24-hour news cycle, where you just have to fill the space with stuff. It doesn't even have to be good stuff or quality stuff or thoughtful stuff or stuff that is of any use to anybody. It just has to be stuff. That's the reason why when there was when the Zika virus was a big story, it got pounded into the ground. And then the moment the next news story popped up, we forgot all about Zika virus. I'm not suggesting that Zika virus wasn't a big deal, but I'm suggesting that it got scarier than it needed to be because the media needed to fill the space with something, and they filled it with that story until we could find another story to fill it with. Right? Like, a lot of times I think that we act like the world is this place that is just going to hell in a handbasket, and we have all of these killings and all of these shootings and all these things. And I do think that on some level, the world isn't as safe as it used to be. I'm not naive, but I am saying this. We are aware also of more of these things happening than we ever used to be. We have the internet. Anytime something bad happens, you get an alert sent right to your phone. You've got Fox News, CNN, MSNBC pounding it into your skull day after day as we try and find the killer, as we try and find the shooter. The person has escaped. Here's all the information that we know. We're doing a psych evaluation on the guy. And that's 24 hours of news. And while a lot of it is useful, a lot of it is just stuff. And I can't help but look at where we are right now with college football and Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey, which we talked about them earlier in the week. They decided not to play in their respective bowl games to prepare for the NFL draft. Leonard Fournette, most and foremost, because he has an injury that cannot get better unless he just stops playing football, which has to be the most important thing to note there. He can't recover that injury unless he stops playing football. But everybody's got an opinion on this. And a simple Google search pulls up a litany of stories, right, on just what this means for non-playoff bowl games. And everybody is worried and afraid and or scared that, well, we've just lost non-playoff bowl games. This is the demise. This is the end of it. But we didn't see any other stars pulling out of games. Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey are not the only guys who are going to be drafted in the NFL. We haven't seen a bunch of dudes pulling out of games. So the fact that we are talking about this being the end, being the demise of non-playoff bowl games, which, as I've mentioned many, many times before, those games never mattered as much as you thought they were. They were glorified exhibition games from the beginning. We only now care because, well, they might not be here. Right? Like, everybody gets mad that they get socks for Christmas until the day that they don't get anything for Christmas. And then you worry that it's not there. You'll take socks over nothing. You start to worry about the bowl games when they're not going to be there anymore. But when they were there, you didn't give them as much value as you're now claiming that they had. That's just a fact. So when we're talking about this stuff, that's the first thing we've got to start with, is these bowl games never had the meaning that people are behaving like they had. And I understand that, it's easy for anybody to say, if you're a fan of a Power 5 school, it's very easy for you to say, yeah, these bowl games didn't have that much meaning. because if they start cutting bowl games, they're not going to start with the bowl games that Tennessee is in. They're going to start with the bowl games that UAB is in, right? Like these smaller schools that make these bowl games, the Old Dominions of the world, that have good seasons, but you're not playing a Power 5 school. And look, part of it is we don't get great bowl game matchups. We really don't. Wouldn't you like to see a Power 5 school play like a one of the other conferences, but like in an actual good matchup? What we end up seeing is like Boise State, who wins in their conference, and then we put Boise State up against some team that's had a horrible season, but they're from a Power 5 school, so we're supposed to just roll with the fact that, like, yeah, Maryland didn't have a great season, but it's okay because they're in a Power 5 conference, so they're supposed to be better than Boise State. Well, we don't know that. We don't know that at all. It'd be nice to see a matchup like that. So we've like diluted these games. We don't have games of any real meaning. These games did not ever mean what we thought they meant. And that's all being exposed now when you have a playoff game. The playoff game shows you real value. You lose and you go home. You lose and you don't get a chance to be a national champion, which is how it should be. And if you add more playoff games, guess what? These smaller bowl games are going to be worth less and less. That's just how it's going to work. The more games that you add that matter, the more that they expose the actual value of the games that don't. If you ever wanted these bowl games to matter, don't advertise all the bigger bowl games. We know about those. Advertise the smaller bowl games. Advertise these smaller teams. You don't spend any money on advertising them. Why should we care? Only college football junkies will seek that stuff out and find it. Like, there's nothing in the actions there that are showing that this stuff matters to anybody. Only in the complaining that Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette are choosing not to play in their bowl games. And like, this is just going to be some epidemic that's sweeping across college football. And everybody's got an opinion, right? Fox Sports radio host JT the Brick, he thinks it's an epidemic and that we've probably gone too far. Mark Richt is in the same camp. He's very saddened by this fact that guys can opt out of bowl games. He decries it. He thinks that football is the ultimate team sport, and there's nothing that says I'm not a team player like not playing in a bowl game to look after your own interests, even though it's college. And what does college prepare you for if not a future career, even if that career is football? Nick Saban's got an opinion, which is that he doesn't really care, but if you played, the risk of injury isn't worth the value you would get from going out there and playing well, which is the most Nick Saban answer ever. But Nick Saban plays in bowl games regularly that matter. So maybe we take his opinion there with a grain of salt. Ezekiel Elliott thinks the guy should play in bowl games, which again, Ezekiel Elliott in his college career mostly played in bowl games that matter and came away a national champion. So I don't know how much I can read into that either. And then you've got guys like Jalen Smith, who was NFL bound, injured himself in a bowl game, and said he would do it again. He would do it again. And let's not be clear about this. Let's be completely clear about this, rather. Jalen Smith was cost tens of millions of dollars because he played in a bowl game and was injured in a bowl game, which affected his NFL draft status. And he said he'd do it again. And I'm more inclined to believe that most guys are like Jalen Smith on this one, that they would rather play in the game, and that this isn't going to be some epidemic, the end of bowl games. But even if it were, would we not wait and find out? Why is it that two guys pulling out of bowl games suddenly makes this an epidemic? First off, that's a gross misuse of the word epidemic. knows what the word epidemic means. An epidemic is something that spreads across a wide number of people. It is not two guys not playing in their respective bowl games. If suddenly every guy that declared for the NFL draft was pulling out of bowl games, then you'd have an epidemic. We don't have an epidemic. Not yet. We don't have an epidemic. It's not even close. And it's one of the weirdest things to see the media jump on this story. And I'm not saying the media to like separate myself from the media. I'm very much aware that I am also the media. It's like one of the things that annoys me the most when I listen to Sean Hannity as I do my show, because he comes on before this show comes on, and he talks very frequently about how the media is doing this and the media is doing that. And it's like, dude, you are the media too, and you do a version of that, if not the more conservative version of that. Look, this is just how the game gets played. That's just how it gets played. And so I'm not separating myself from the media. I'm sure that you could find many instances where I jumped on a story and beat it to death just because I had to talk about something. But this is one of those things where the media tries to come with this idea of, look, it's all falling apart. It's all falling apart. And we're just supposed to run around and scream because the sky is falling, because the media told us that the sky is falling. It's one of my least favorite things about working in the media. That just because I'm panicking about something doesn't mean that it's happening. You know, one of my least favorite things when I talk to people, and I don't very often enjoy talking to people, it's just, is this. I work in radio in large part because of my voice, where people tell me I have a nice voice, but also I have an angry voice. I have a very grumpy voice. My voice makes me sound more upset in a lot of instances than I am. People think I'm angry when I'm not angry. This is just how I say words, all right? This is just how I talk. And you're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogARadio.com. This is just how I talk. And people jump on that very frequently, like, you know, they'll ask me if I'm fine or if I'm okay, or, you know, tell me to cool down when I'm not even upset. And it bothers me because now I have to defend something that's not real. Now I have to say something that's not, like, I have to talk about something that's not there, which is this anger and frustration that people are perceiving that I do not have. This is just my voice. I've just got an edge in my voice and I sound very angry. I used to listen to Andrew Siciliano. He does the Red Zone channel on NFL Network. He's a guy that's got a similar voice to mine. And so I always took inspiration from that because he's a guy, there's an edge in your voice. You sound angry. You're not angry, right? And now people are telling you to calm down. Well, no, calm down from what? And that makes you angry. The fact that people are telling you to calm down and you're already calm. Now they're not listening to what you have to say because they're so hung up on what they think you sound like. The media is exactly like that in a lot of ways. The media is like that person that is hung up on what they think you sound like. They're not listening to what you have to say. It's crazy. Like when you look at how this college football story, like the bowl games, they're going away. The number of stories written about this in the last couple of days have been written with enough intensity to almost make me believe that they want the bowl games to go away. Right? Like you look at a lot of the liberal media, your MSNBC type news organizations, you know, the BuzzFeed type organizations of the world, your Jezebel.com, the liberal media that complained about Donald Trump the entire time, just on and on and on and on and on about him. They're the ones that could not be happier that he is president. You never run out of material with this guy. Never. This is 4 years of content That is never, ever, ever, ever going away. He is a content producing machine. And it almost feels like the media wants the bowl games to be taken away. Like they just want it to be gone so that they can write stories about how this should never have happened. Like that's going to be step 2. And it's so bizarre to keep going on about how this thing is dying when we don't have any proof that this thing is dying. 2 guys did not play in bowl games or choosing not to play in bowl games. That does not mean that this is dying. It doesn't mean that anything is happening to it. All it means is that those 2 guys decided not to play in bowl games. And the overwhelming amount of opinions of players who have said that they would play in bowl games again if they had the opportunity, guys that have gone to the NFL recently, who have been players in this college football playoff world that we live in, have gone on and said, look, we'd play in the bowl games. How can you possibly tag this kind of thing to be an epidemic? Stop blowing this out of proportion. Nothing is happening yet. If it does, even if you're right, then is the time to write about it. Don't predict something that you can't know happens. Like, this is not predicting the outcome of a football game and trying to figure out, like, is Alabama going to cover the 15 points that they're giving to Washington, which is a ridiculous amount of points for a bowl game, but that just shows you how good Alabama is. Because you've got one of 2 options. Either you're very right about that or you're very wrong. And nobody has to panic. We just get to sit down and watch the game. We don't know for how long this is going to play out. We don't know if it's going to get much worse than this, or if this is what it is. And even if this is what happened, does this kill college football bowl games? Because a lot of these bowl games, like I said, are teams that you don't watch all year. Unless you're a college football nut or from Louisiana, you weren't watching Tulsa all year. You weren't. You weren't watching Louisiana Lafayette. You weren't watching Grambling State. Like, those players aren't going to skip their bowl games. Most of these bowl games are not going to be affected. And then the teams that have NFL prospect type players, unless those guys are dealing with nagging injuries, it's not like anybody's afraid of being injured in a bowl game. Like Nick Saban said when he was talking about it earlier today, everybody gets injured in every sport. And I think everybody's aware of this. Tiger Woods got injured. He plays a non-contact single-player sport. Tennis players get injured all the time. Everybody knows. And it's highly unlikely that you're going to be a Jalen Smith, who I cannot stress enough said he would play in the bowl game again, even after he got cost millions of dollars for playing in the bowl game and getting injured. It just doesn't happen. Like, stars don't get taken out of bowl games overwhelmingly. So there's no reason to believe that this is some kind of epidemic that's spreading through the world of college football that we need to fix. We've made this terrible system. Quick, get rid of the playoff. The bowl games are meaningless. Quick. The NFL's making more money. The bowl games are meaningless. Probably not. Probably the bowl games will be meaningful to the same people that they've always been meaningful to. Like, I'm not going to stop watching bowl games, and I'll watch LSU's bowl game even without Leonard Fournette. I'll probably watch Stanford's bowl game even without Christian McCaffrey. A lot of people tune in to watch bowl games to see teams, not players. And I understand that college football has more of a stardom effect than the NFL because they like having stars in college football. That increases the marketability of college football, right? Like, that means more in college than it does in the NFL. But even then, like, college football isn't as star power driven as, say, college basketball, right? Like, everybody knows Grayson Allen right now. Everybody knows Malik Monk over at Kentucky right now. Like, there's nobody that doesn't know those guys and what it is that they look like if you're following college athletics at all. Like, it's easier to name more Mocs basketball players than Mocs football players just because basketball lends itself to that star power. So with that said, I don't think that this destroys college football and the bowl games are falling to pieces. Oh no, what shall we do? Just keep watching football, man. Probably nothing's going to change. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, NoogARadio.com. We will return. More football talk. Next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Nooga Radio News, Russell Stroud reporting. New early voting sites. That was the item on the agenda for the City Council last night. City Councilman Chris Anderson releasing a proposal which would add 6 new early voting stations in the Chattanooga area. That number now been reduced down to 2, which is a feasible plan. Each new additional location will cost the city $15,000, something which the city budget, they say, can handle. Early voting starts in February. Word coming in from the TFP that the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport officials have approved a no-bid contract. This is for a new parking arrangement with the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport and Republic Parking. So Republic, a local company, will continue to serve parking needs for the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport. And the second annual Feed the Community event has been dedicated to the memory of the victims of the Woodmore bus crash, which occurred last month. The organizer of the event is the uncle of a child who was a victim of that bus crash. The purpose of the event is to hand out meals to those in need and to bring unity to the community.
Expect fair to partly cloudy skies to continue through your nighttime. Not as cold overnight, lows into the upper 30s to near 40. Now for your Thursday, some sunshine, pretty nice day. High temperatures near 55. For Friday, continued dry with highs back into the lower 50s. Did you know that you could purchase a home now with little or nothing down? Find your dream home with McBriar Realty. Call McBriar Realty at 706-657-2353 or McBriarRealty.com. And I'm Sports Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
How about we change that to Built in the USA? For over 21 years, Affordable Computers has been building computers right here in the good old USA, in Chattanooga, using the highest quality parts and components in every new computer they build. Tell us the exact system you need, we'll build it to your specifications. Or you can choose from a wide selection of our PCs and laptops, starting at under $200. All Affordable Computers are upgradable, guaranteed. Affordable Computers services their computers in store, typically within 1 to 3 days. And when you call, they answer the phone. You get support within minutes that you can understand. Affordable Computers of Chattanooga. And service and support extends for the life of the computer, not just for the warranty of the PC. So there's no reason to shop anywhere else. Call Affordable Computers now on Highway 58 Chattanooga, 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975.
Or visit our Fort O store, 706-858-5888.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is a choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing, mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
Cash, and more cash. Hey, where do you think Santa shops? Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. He made a special stop to tell Rick, slash those prices 50 to 70%. Ooh, ho, ho. That's right. Get 50 to 70% off right now for Christmas at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Even Rick's not going to say no to Santa. No. Don't wait till after Christmas. It'll be way too late. Get your cash right now for your gold, your silver, your diamonds, and jewelry. And save 50 to 70% off. On a $100 item, it's only $30. On a $1,000 item, $300. Has Rick gone mad?
Well, maybe a little.
No, we think he's just Christmassy. Rick Davis Davis Gold and Diamonds. 50% off right now. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. You know where it is. Hey, is that Santa? Cash, 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 and more cash.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is a field line failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
This is what I'm talking about with the media right here. John Gruden. And I quote, "Right now I have no intentions of coaching." That's exactly what I mean. Now, look, just yesterday I bumped into the first and apparently only substantial rumor connecting John Gruden to the Rams in terms of at least the Rams making John Gruden a priority. But the fact of the matter is this: his job is already great. It's better than the Rams job. Why would you leave and coach the Rams job? You've got a very comfortable job doing Monday Night Football. You've already got a Super Bowl ring. There's nothing left to prove. Nothing at all. You get nothing out of this except a headache and misery if you go to coach the Rams. Why would you do it? What do you get out of it? There's nothing. There's nothing to gain from that. And so John Gruden wouldn't go coach the Rams, which is what I have been saying. But year after year after year, some team has an opening, and then columns get written about how John Gruden should be a top candidate at whatever opening is available. And I don't know why. You can't give him enough money to stop doing a fun job. That's a job a lot of people would do for a lot less money than what John Gruden is currently doing that job for. That job is a nice job. You talk about football constantly, which you love to do, being a former coach. You break down film every offseason. You get to talk to new draft prospects. Like, you never have to turn the football off. Guys have to figure out all the time after they retire from playing and retire from coaching, what the heck am I going to do? Yeah, John Gruden didn't have to do that because he never had to stop dealing in football. But every year that story just gets run out there about how, yep, this is it. John Gruden, he's going to return to somebody, and it's always some team that stinks horribly. Which I understand. Those are usually the teams that end up firing their coaches. But like with the Giants, after they fired Coughlin, he never gets connected to good teams. Like, he didn't get connected to the Giants after Coughlin, even though that's not a bad team to coach. That's not going to be a complete headache from the beginning. I mean, unless you're Ben McAdoo and you're doing shady stuff with walkie-talkies. But that's not the point of this story. My point is, there is no reason to jump into the lake of fire that is the Rams head coaching job. Right? If you don't have to. I wouldn't. I mean, I would. But, I'm not actually a football coach. So if the Rams hire me, then there's probably more wrong with that organization than what they thought. But how about this? I'm officially throwing my hat in the ring. If the LA Rams would like to hire me as a football coach, I'll do it. I will take that sacrifice. I will put it upon myself. I'll put it on myself. That team managed to win 4 games with Jeff Fisher at the helm. Understand, I'm just going to be there in the offices. I'm not really going to be coaching anybody. I'm not a coach. Never have been, probably never will be, except for maybe a coach of small children, because I don't know. I like football enough. Gotta help out the kids. That could probably happen, but that's about as high in the coaching ranks as I will probably ever make it. But no, this is just one of those really absurd stories that happens year in and year out. And Michael Bennett had talked about the NFL and the NFL's rules, which I talked about a little bit yesterday because they're vague rules. And he referenced the Key and Peele sketch. And Michael Bennett said he was vague on the NFL's rules, that 2 pumps gets you a baby, 3 pumps gets you a fine, is what he said. Because Michael Bennett never answers a question like a normal person. So does 4 pumps get you a fine and a baby? Like, I'm not clear on where he was going with that quote. But here's the thing. The Key and Peele sketch does kind of highlight how ridiculous the NFL's rules are on celebrations and the flags there, because I don't know if you've ever seen the sketch. I would highly recommend that you go and look it up. So basically, they have a character who plays football, and his name is Hingle McCringleberry. And Hingle McCringleberry is doing this dance after scoring a touchdown, and he does a pelvic thrust. And when he does the third one, the refs throw a flag, so he can't do more. I think it's when he does the second one, they throw a flag. So he can't do more than one. And it's been, the sketch escalates, and as it goes on, he gets closer and closer to the line of doing a second pelvic thrust without actually doing a second pelvic thrust. And the sort of legalism of the NFL's rules, that the NFL is an organization that enforces its rules very seriously, as all organizations do. But also they have vague rules. So then where do you wind up? Right? Like, when you look at the 10 Commandments, let's say, as a set of rules, they are quite specific as to what is what. Thou shalt not lie is pretty clear. An NFL version of thou shalt not lie would then attempt to define what a lie is, and then leave it up to a referee to try and figure out if you were close enough to a lie that you should be penalized. And then, of course, you would be penalized for not lying because it sounded like it could have been a lie, maybe. Hard to tell, and now we can't overturn the call. You've got that, and then you've got the times when lying will go unpenalized because, well, it did look kind of like the truth is sort of at first. That's how the NFL would enforce it. Like, if we all know what a lie is, why are we trying to add extra definitions to what a lie is? So a lie can be this, but it can't be that. That's why the NFL rules are so hard to understand what it is that they are. The NFL ruling on excessive celebration isn't specific enough. Right? I mean, it's one of those things that just leaves you feeling like, this is not actually helping anybody. In fact, it hinders more than it helps in most cases. And I can't think of a single time that I have watched someone celebrate, seen them fined for excessive celebration, and thought, this is helping somebody. And then when you consider the fact that the NFL has changed their excessive celebration rules so many times, they have changed them so often, it doesn't leave you in a good place to really understand what's happening. For instance, let's take a look at how many times that by week 6, the NFL was on pace to eclipse last year's number of celebration penalties by about 15 or 20 penalties. Oh, that's a lot. That is a lot. You know, and you've got players in the NFL joking about it, but the sort of idea that you've got to control what the players do, you've got to control how the players do it to sort of gain control in the NFL is weird, because you're not talking about kids. You're talking about grown guys. And I understand why the referees have to make the calls that they make. They've got a difficult job. This is not coming down on the referees. And even though it sounds like it, it's not really even coming down on the NFL for having rules, because there is a point at which you realize the reason why some of these rules that control behavior are in place are because if you allow certain behaviors to go unpunished, the game gets out of hand, right? Like, I like the automatic ejection if you try and hurt somebody after the whistle is blown. If you try and step on somebody, if you try and punch somebody like George Noory did on Monday night in the Monday Night Football game, where he threw 2 real punches at a Panthers player that had on his helmet. Nothing stupider in football, or nothing stupider in sports than a football fight. Everybody's got a helmet and pads on already. Who are you punching? I don't understand. When Jose Bautista got punched by Rougned Odor in baseball, now that's a fight. His face you can actually hurt the guy you're trying to punch. Basketball players hate to fight. You know, you got the one guy who'll try and get a shot in there and then get his teammates to hold him back. So basketball players are just not fighters by definition. And then, you know, you've got in the NFL, guys are always willing to fight, but you're fighting a person who's already protected against getting hit by you. What makes you think that he's going to be hurt by punches from you? But I digress. I understand having the rules in place to try and gain control of this game so you don't end up with a bunch of testosterone-fueled guys playing in a game that's very emotional, that's going to put them in a position where they can't necessarily they're not necessarily in control of their emotions already, and then the game gets out of hand because somebody gets pissed off at somebody else, and now you've just got to fight. Like, fights happen in practice against your own team. So there's no reason to expect that they wouldn't happen when you get 2 teams together that hate each other. It's going to happen. But I just, for the life of me, some of this excessive celebration stuff, I don't know who this helps. Because if you're telling me it helps your audience, it doesn't. We don't like excessive celebration penalties. Guys dancing and celebrating when they score is part of the fun. So you're not helping us. Well, are you helping the kids? Putting the athletes in a position where they have to be better role models? Maybe, except any kid will tell you when they go out and they play football and they score, they play the game and their emotions are running high, celebrating is one of the things that they're more likely to do. It's what people do. It's completely human. So basically what you're saying is to kids, yeah, no, don't celebrate and or have fun, or the giant organization that you work for will squash your humanity. Even though now as I say that actually sounds like a really good life lesson to teach kids. Because that's most kids will grow up and work for some gigantic organization that will squash their humanity. So you know what? I rescind that one. That actually is a good life lesson for kids. But even then, That doesn't help in the actual viewing of football. You're not helping the kids learn anything about the aspect of life when it comes to celebration. Or if you think that the dance is sexual in nature, which I don't know how some kids are going to get anything out of that. Like when they see dances and go, oh, yeah, no, he's twerking. That obviously means something. Does it? Does it? Because I don't think it does. Oh, look, Von Miller, whatever that thing that he does when he sacks people. Yeah, that really, there's a child out there that's looking at that and they're scarred for life because they saw Von Miller pelvic thrust. Honestly, did that have you? Did you have to ask? Did your child ask you the difficult questions about life because they saw that on TV? Because I don't think that they did. I don't think that they did. I watched football, and I was a kid through the most excessive years of NFL celebrations. And none of those things have caused me to be a worse person. Like, I have not gone, you know what, the NFL needed to shield my eyes from this. It was just getting stupid. Like, the dances were just getting dumb. We got protected from the peak of stupidity where the dancing was somehow taking away from the football. So there's that, right? But outside of that, not really. It's not that these penalties don't help us, and they don't help the players because the players want to celebrate. The players want to express themselves. The players want to show their emotions. I don't think that's unfair. This is what they want to do. And then you don't put the coaches in a good position because these penalties affect their game plan. You've got a 15-yard penalty for excessive celebration. And it's like, well, you're affecting every aspect of the game because a guy danced. And you're affecting it in a way that nobody wants. Virtually nobody is helped by this. Your fans don't want it because it makes the game more boring. You're trying to treat these guys like robots. They're human beings. We want to see that happiness because it's sort of like what we feel in real life. When you do something in real life and you feel that level of elation, you can't help but think about and you can't help but remember watching guys celebrate. Your feeling of emotion mirrors theirs. So it doesn't help your fans any. We like it. It doesn't help the players because they like to celebrate. It doesn't help the referees because you put them in a position to try and define and disseminate and figure out, well, what's too bad, what's gone too far, and what hasn't. Is this a flag or is this not a flag? Is Ezekiel Elliott jumping in the Salvation Army bucket a flag? No, it really isn't. And I'm glad they didn't throw the flag there. Is Antonio Brown's handshake a flag? It also isn't. Why did you throw the flag there? Why not put referees in that position in the first place? Coaches can't like it because the guy dances and you have to tell a guy like, you know what? You've got to be smart there and completely hide your emotions in this emotional game that we play. In this game that some guys have to get jacked up and amped up and really angry to play. And that you talk to some of these guys off the field and they're nothing like the way that they play. Like you watch Luke Kuechly play, Luke Kuechly is so angry. And then when you hear him off the field, it's a different guy. Playing and then being off the field it's two different things. Guys get emotional out there. And you're saying, you know what? You've got to be smart out there and do this thing that's really hard to do. Keep your emotions entirely in check, no matter what. And then for what? What are you protecting? What are you protecting? I think they're hurting the league with this stuff. They are. And I'm not saying they're hurting the league as a viewing product for me personally, even though that too. they're hurting the league with regards to like the amount of money that they're making. People aren't going to watch a boring game. If you think that we tune on the TV to watch uniforms play each other, you've got another thing coming. The NFL would do well to allow its players to have a voice. They think that that's not what they want. They're wrong. They're losing money this year, and they're not losing money for all the nonsense reasons that they made up that they're losing money. They say they're losing money because of the protests. If anything, man, you're losing money because of your reaction to the protests. That a guy protests and you're trying to shut down everybody's voice. And I get why you would want to shut down everybody's voice. You don't want the NFL to become this political entity. You want it to be dry and vanilla, but you know what? Your game is played by humans. And maybe in the future, one day we'll have it played by like Cletus the robot, the Fox NFL mascot. But until that day that happens, where robots are actually playing the game of football, you got to let people have a voice. We relate to that stuff, okay? Odell Beckham Jr. made an amazing catch, and he became the most popular football player overnight. I saw kids in Chattanooga wearing Odell Beckham Jr. jerseys. They like him. They like Odell. Odell. Not the Giants. The Giants aren't fun to watch. They have no running game. Their offensive line stinks. And outside of Odell, they really don't have any other receiver. They like Odell. You can't keep silencing players. They're what sell the league. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Elliott Powers around the outside. Michael McDowell pops the right front tire. Here's Martin Truex to the bottom. Blaney blocked him off too. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Fox News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR.
Is your career careening, maybe sagging, wheezing? Let me suggest a job with huge income potential. Dealing with people. Call Steve or Jada for a confidential interview. 855-8484. 855-8484. Maybe the most important call you make all year.
Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Need to sell your house? Want to buy another house? Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Our goals are simple. If you're selling, we get you the best price possible in the quickest amount of time with the least amount of hassle. Our agents are professional, competent, and courteous. We stay in touch every step of the way. If you're buying, we make sure you get all the information necessary to choose the right house in the right location at the best price. Exit Realty is one of the fastest growing real estate companies in North America. Our agents have extensive training, state-of-the-art technology, and full support that allows us to do the best job possible for you. If you're in the market to buy or sell, call us today. 423-551-EXIT. That's 423-551-3948. If you're an agent or considering a career in real estate, call us today. See what Exit Realty can do for you. No desk fees, residual income, technology to the max, and people first. Call us today, 551-EXIT. That's 551-3948. We're located at 7610 Hamilton Park Drive, just off the Bonnie Oaks exit. And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. It happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
At Eyer Optical, it's a well-known fact. When you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. But did you know Eyer Optical has the largest eyeglass selection in the area, with top-name brands and styles in the latest trends? Schedule your appointment with one of the doctors today for a comprehensive eye exam. And remember, when you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. Visit EyerOptical.com for a location near you.
Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse. Plus, if you mention you heard this on the radio, your application fee is free. Cross Creek Villas, close to downtown off of Highway 58. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com. That's crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. That's 894-0446. Redefine the way you live at Cross Creek Villas. Go to crosscreekchattanooga.com or call 894-0446. Cross Creek Villas. You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation. 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
Charge! Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny toads. I'm up north. Gotta burn my boots. They touched Yankee soil. Lay down your arms and step forward, Yankee.
What's the hassle, schmassle?
My orders from General Lee is to hold the base.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy. Chattanooga.
They're hunting for the key suspect in the Berlin truck attack.
This man had been under surveillance on suspicion of being involved in attack planning.
North Carolina lawmakers consider ending that controversial law that affects the LGBT community.
I don't think we can afford to leave here today without repealing House Bill 2.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. He's the subject of an alert throughout Europe. Anis Amri, a Tunisian, is the prime suspect in the truck assault on that Berlin Christmas marketplace. He's on the loose, armed, dangerous, with a reward of $100,000 out there for his capture. To Berlin and CBS's Charlie D'Agata.
Detectives found Amri's identification papers in a wallet he left behind under the driver's seat of the truck that plowed into the Christmas market. But Amri had been under surveillance before Monday's attack. He's been linked to Abu Wala, an Iraqi who was arrested in Germany last month, accused of recruiting fighters for ISIS. German officials said Amri entered the country seeking asylum in July last year, at the height of the migrant crisis, when close to 1 million refugees flooded into the country. Amri's application was rejected. He was supposed to be deported in June, but that never happened.
Not far from the truck attack site, there was singing to remember the 12 people who died and the 4 dozen or so others who were hurt in Berlin on Monday. Contrast that with this. Some anti-immigrant protesters gathered outside the German chancellery, calling for Angela Merkel to resign. Back in this country, the controversial North Carolina bathroom law could be flushed away. To Raleigh, CBS's Jim Crisula.
State lawmakers have spent the day politicking and arguing over the state's controversial 9-month-old law that eliminates protections for LGBT people. Closed-door meetings have lasted hours amid talk of a possible repeal. State Senator Terry Van Duyn is among Democrats saying the law needs to go.
This is tarnishing our reputation as a state that is open for business.
The GOP-led state Senate is hung up on provisions included in a possible repeal of the LGBT law.
A man known for his toughness will become part of the Trump team. Here's CBS's Steve Dorsey.
Business magnate Carl Icahn gained fame as a corporate raider, taking over companies from the outside. He calls himself an activist investor. Icahn's also had a hand in casinos, taking over Mr. Trump's now shuttered Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. At age 80, he'll now serve as his special advisor on regulatory reform, though he won't be a government employee, instead serving unpaid.
Wall Street, the Dow lost 32 points. The NASDAQ dropped 12. Now this.
Hey, Michelle, what did Jamie's teachers have to say at PTA tonight?
Great, except for math. Jamie's math teacher says that she spaces out during class and that she failed her last algebra exam. That's a big problem.
We went through the same thing with Kevin. But thanks to Math Made Easy, he's made a complete turnaround.
I've heard about Math Made Easy. How does it work?
They've got these terrific video reviews in all levels of math with dynamic teachers who engage students with easy-to-follow explanations. With Math Made Easy, students control the pace of their learning. Math Made Easy even comes with a 30-day risk-free trial.
Wow, I have nothing to lose.
Right. Math Made Easy is a proven tool that will boost Jamie's grades and her confidence. It's an affordable alternative to pricey tutoring. Here, let me text the number to you. It's 1-866-598-MATH, or you can visit mathmadeeasy.com.
Math Made Easy.
1-866-598-MATH. 1-866-598-6284.
Coming through in Aleppo, buses showed up to evacuate civilians. They left under freezing conditions, and the last patients from a hospital in the eastern part of that city are now out. Healthcare stateside correspondent Stephen Portnoy on the new tally of who's been signing up.
30 days before they turn over the keys to a team that's openly hostile to Obamacare, Obama administration officials say a record number of Americans have picked plans on the insurance exchanges. Secretary Sylvia Matthews Burwell says 30,000 people have called the HHS hotline, expressing fears their coverage will go away if Republicans follow through with plans to repeal the Affordable Care Act.
Insurers have emphasized that the coverage people buy today is a contract for 2017.
Burwell says 650,000 people picked a plan last Thursday, a one-day sign-up record.
Week before Election Day, someone spray-painted "Vote Trump" on an African-American church in Mississippi. The church burned down. Now, remember the church.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Here's what advertisers are saying about AM 1240. HotNewsTalkRadio.com.
Radio station, they really care. They're always calling me probably once a week, checking on me, seeing how things going, see if they want to change any of the ads or do anything different, seeing what my needs are. I've gotten business off the ads that you do for me, and seems to be working well at this point.
Prices were very fair. Areas in this town that we aren't able to get other ways, your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we got. It seems like everybody over there cares about what they're going to do, how it's going to work for us on this end, and we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard, and they always seem to be right on point, even without us having to come up with what's going to be said.
I've been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertisement. The commercials are great. They're very professional. I was actually blown away.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guarantee you, by far.
AM 1240, HotNewsTalkRadio.com gets results. Let us get results for your business. For no obligation free consultation, call General Sales Manager Steve Johnson. Call 423-240-5459. That's 240-5459. Or you can always email Steve at NoogaRadioSteve@gmail.com. That's NoogaRadioSteve@gmail.com. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We get results.
Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Welcome to hour 2 of the show. Politics and sports, man. It's the most interesting thing to me. And I honestly, one of the things that have always drawn me to sports radio is the mixture of politics and sports, whether that's the politics of the sport, right? Like we're talking about college football and should guys be mandated to play in bowl games, and are we killing off the bowl system with playoff games and guys getting more money in the NFL? So like you've got the politics of the game itself, and then you've got athletes who are people and do have opinions and do have political opinions outside of the world of sports, that they think about things and have things that concern them the same as any of us do. That if you went out and voted for Donald Trump or you went out and voted for Hillary Clinton, I assume you voted for these people because you have concerns and you thought whatever candidate addressed whatever need that you had, right? Whether that was gun issues or getting rid of Washington insiders or women's rights or whatever the case may be for you. That's really cool. I've always liked politics. I grew up in a house where we discussed politics frequently. My father would watch TV and would yell at the TV in either agreeance or disagreeance of whatever it was that was happening. He was just arguing with the TV and nobody else in the house in particular. And I kind of took up that same habit. And one of the things, too, was like we would listen to sports radio together. And my dad would just argue with whoever's on the radio. Or we'd listen to political radio and he'd argue with whoever's on the radio. And I think that I want to be a person that can have a platform and say things and sort of be able to exact change in the world in some way. And, you know, Mr. Tulis here at the station asks me all the time, like, why did you do sports? You could do anything. You could talk about any kind of topic or issue that you want to that might have more meaning. I think I can do just fine in sports. I think that sports have the connection to all those avenues of political life, both local and foreign, that we are looking for because it has such a huge impact in our society that not everybody might be the biggest sports fan. But, you know, everybody watches the Super Bowl. Even criminals watch the Super Bowl. The crime rate plummets on the night of the Super Bowl. Nobody commits crimes on the Super Bowl. Like, think about that. So this stuff obviously has a huge impact. And I think that a lot of times people want athletes to get involved in the world. That the idea that you make all of this money, you've got a gigantic platform, and you make a ton of money playing a game. Shouldn't you be doing something? Shouldn't you be using that influence for something good? And I always caution people. Don't ask athletes to say things. I want athletes to say things. And I don't care what they say. I'm fine with disagreeing with you too. But don't ask athletes to say things if you're going to be offended by every opinion that they hold and everything that they say. Right? To the point where you're basically saying that a guy shouldn't be allowed to say something because you disagreed with what he said. That athletes have the same freedom of speech that you do, and that if their employer allows them to say certain things, they should. And this is probably, given the nature of our election and how that went down and a number of other issues, this has been one of the more political years that we've ever had for any reason. Just a generally political year. And so I think it's worth noting that there have been a lot of athletes in sports. There have been a lot of athletes in sports this year that have stepped outside of the world of sports and stepped into the world of politics, for better or for worse, according to most people. But again, one of those, look, you've got to be careful. got to be careful what you ask for when you ask for athletes to say things. You don't get to ask them to shut up once they start saying things that you don't like. We like it when athletes speak up until they start to say things that we don't like. And we had a number of issues this year that came up involving the political nature of the year that we're in. The big story, obviously, I'm sure I drubbed it to death, but mostly because I enjoyed talking about it more so than I had to fill space. I just enjoy talking about Colin Kaepernick. And some of y'all want me to not talk about Colin Kaepernick so much, but I can't help it. I can't help it. It's fun. It's absolutely fun. And part of it too is I do enjoy getting, like, seeing people get riled up about it, but it is absolutely fun. But yeah, no. Colin Kaepernick, big story of the year, because Colin Kaepernick takes a knee to protest the police violence against black people in America. It is something that is happening. I don't know that that's particularly up for debate. It's not particularly deniable. It's not me coming down and indicting the police officers and the police force. I like the police, and I believe that the service that the police provide, their honor and their bravery in doing so, cannot be understated. But some police officers are not behaving correctly, and I don't think that we have the proper safeguards against that. And I don't think that, based on the number of officers involved in these incidents that have gotten off without real punishment, we don't seem to have any way of penalizing the behavior of the police officers that are not behaving correctly. And I think that Colin Kaepernick's protest is valid, and people wanted Colin Kaepernick to protest differently. They wanted him to protest in a way that was nicer and kinder and maybe a little less abrasive than not standing during the national anthem, even though he said it had nothing to do with the troops. You don't get to interpret what someone else's protest is about. You don't get to tell them what their protest is about. If he tells you it's got nothing to do with the troops, guess what? It's got nothing to do with the troops, and you're just going to have to leave that alone. That's just what it is. That's just an absolute fact. It's got nothing to do with the troops. It's got everything to do with the violence against black men and black women in America by police who are behaving incorrectly. So that was one of the big political stories of the year. And of course, another retaliation of that, of the police violence, was, of course, violence against the police. That the Dallas shootings happened. There was a shooting in San Antonio that happened, that just police officers were getting shot in retaliation, and that's not right either. I'm not for that. I don't think that someone's got on a uniform, you take them out. I mean, that's low. It's classless. The people who did that, whether or not they were caught, they're scum. I'm not for that. And I think that LeBron James and Chris Paul and Carmelo Anthony were three guys this year that really stepped up in a big way and went out of their way to condemn the violence against police officers, which is huge. Because we got into this whole Black Lives Matter, and people like Blue Lives Matter, which is ridiculous, because as Dave Chappelle said, well, you weren't born the police, you became a police officer. But everybody's lives matter. No one is talking about whose life matters and somebody else's life doesn't matter. When you talk about Black Lives Matter, what you're saying is, oh, by the way, Black Lives Matter, just in case you forgot. Just in case you forgot, because it feels like you forgot. That's all it is. Whether or not you believe that movement has handled itself with any particular grace or dignity, that is your call. I'm not going to delve too much deeper into that. But I just thought it was a very big thing that those guys came up and stepped up and said, hey, no, we can't do this. There are lots of different ways to go about this. But if I had to choose between who was ultimately more effective in getting their message out, Colin Kaepernick or LeBron, Carmelo, and D. Wade, I'm going to say Colin Kaepernick, because what Colin Kaepernick did took guts. He had to do something that people don't like. And I don't know how many people are truly and honestly aware of that when you protest, a lot of times you have to do something that people don't like. You have to do something that will get their attention, that will make them notice. You have to. That is not up for debate. You cannot protest in a way that people like. The reason why a lot of those marches happened in the 60s is because people were uncomfortable with a large number of black people congregating in one place and protesting. That's why those marches were uncomfortable. Well, Carmelo Anthony leads marches today. And I don't know if anybody has paid attention outside of the people that went to the marches to a single one. Because it's not uncomfortable today. Marches are not uncomfortable. You've got to do something uncomfortable. Protest is about rattling the cage. You've got to. Like, as much good as Carmelo and LeBron and Chris Paul did that night, I assure you their message did not get out the same way as when guys in the NBA were wearing those I Can't Breathe shirts. And people did feel strongly about that. But that rattled something. It made waves, so the message got out. And look, black issues weren't the only issues this year that athletes decided to take on. The U.S. women's soccer team protesting the wage gap in America, which people see, like, people act like that's a myth. Like the wage gap is a myth of some kind. It's not a myth. That thing exists. There are some things that aren't accounted for. Women typically work, if you just don't look at the job specifically, women typically work lower paying jobs. More women tend to be teachers. More women tend to be nurses. These are not jobs that pay as high as lawyers and doctors, which more men work in those fields. But even if you look closely at it, a man working the same job as a woman typically gets paid less. Okay, just a fact. We don't have to fight over it. It is simply true. And the women's soccer team gets paid less than the men's soccer team. And that seems to be really unfair. So they had these shirts that said equal play, equal pay, and all of those things. And I was behind that protest. I completely believed in it 100%. And I thought, well, if they wanted to sit out, if they wanted to boycott, if they want to not play until that happens, then yeah. Because I understand why women get paid less than men in sports. People watch more of men's sports, so it makes more money. So they make more money. Okay? The NBA makes more money than the WNBA. NBA players make more money than WNBA players because more people watch the NBA than the WNBA. I don't need to sit down and get into why. That's just the fact of what it is. But in the case of soccer, during the World Cup and during the Olympics, we're all watching the same amount, really. And the women have been more successful than the men. So we're more likely to watch the women. It's easier to watch the women. They win. They are one of the good teams when you watch the women play soccer. When you watch the men play soccer, you do realize that our best players, Josie Altidore, for instance, goes to a European squad. Dude probably never sees the field. He never sees the field. And he's one of our best players. Landon Donovan played here his whole career. If Landon Donovan had ever gone to Europe in his prime, and by the way, Landon Donovan's a very good soccer player, in his prime, Landon Donovan never starts. He never starts a day in Europe in his life. We're just not as good at soccer here. And if the men are going to be not good and the women are going to be good, who do you think people are watching? And why is it that the women are getting paid less to play the same sport and win it? They're winning. I'm not asking you to pay them the same when they're losing and nobody cares and nobody's paying attention. I'm asking you to pay them more when they're better. I'm asking you to pay them more when they're being more successful. When I've seen the U.S. women's national team go out there and win a World Cup and go out there and win Olympic gold, I've seen it multiple times in my life now. I will probably die before the U.S. men's national team wins a soccer game in a consequential match in the World Cup. I will be long dead before we ever reach that level. The prospect that the U.S. has to catch up to the world in soccer should be a testament to the fact that we are not good at soccer. Because we didn't have to catch up in any of these other sports, albeit that like basketball was a sport we made up, so we ought to be good at it, but we don't have to catch up in golf. The Europeans are better at golf, but it's not a gap that's super wide. We got a lot of great American golfers. There's nothing to catch up in tennis. Might have to do some catching up after the Williams sisters, but I mean, we've had great tennis players. Never been good at soccer. How come the women are being paid less money? Just think about that. And think about how much sense that makes and the progress that's necessary for how it is that we see women in sports. Like, we just don't perceive them as being as good at things as men are for whatever reason. And I just that has to be egregious. It has to change. And U.S. women's soccer is the perfect field to explore that disparity and explore why and what it is that we are making these decisions for. And hopefully that spreads and we get it right in actual life, because I contend and have always contended. And the reason why sports matter to me is because what you will allow in your sports, you will allow in your life. So athletes stepping up, athletes being political, athletes trying to make some kind of change, I'm all for that. And of course, got to talk about LeBron James again, because LeBron James openly endorsed Hillary Clinton, and a lot of people felt strongly about that. And I don't know why. As though LeBron James wouldn't have a political candidate that he would stand behind. And the only thing that separates LeBron and you is that LeBron James is famous and you are not. If you and LeBron changed places and you were as famous as LeBron was, wouldn't you have used your fame to help your political candidate get elected? Is that not part of what you would do? Because I would. The person I most believed would be fit to run the country, if I were famous, I would use that fame to try and get that person elected. That's all he did. He was a Hillary supporter. If you don't like that, then stop watching basketball. He's an American. He's allowed to have an opinion the same as you. This idea is that somehow if you're on the left, everything that's on the right is poison. And if you're on the right, that everything on the left is poison is ridiculous. If you want people to see the same way that you see, fine, but then treat them with a little bit of respect and treat their opinions with a little bit of respect. And of course, HB2, which is the bill in North Carolina that was on today, ended up not being repealed. But, the NBA was going to have the All-Star game in North Carolina. They were going to have the All-Star game in Charlotte specifically, and they pulled out. We're not going to have this game played here as long as that bill exists. And the amount of festivities and everything that were starting to get planned for North Carolina, you know what? You don't have an All-Star game anymore. And that's one of the premier NBA events. And it happened in Georgia, but Georgia repealed their bill. Georgia pulled their bill back because Hollywood also films in Georgia. The NFL has got the Falcons down there. The Falcons are due for a new stadium, and the NFL was like, look, you want that new stadium, you back that up. Politics and sports. They've always been intertwined, but this is possibly our most political year, and so it makes sense that sports played a hand in it somehow. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, NoogaRadio.com.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Nooga Radio News, Russell Stroud reporting. New early voting sites. That was the item on the agenda for the City Council last night. City Councilman Chris Anderson releasing a proposal which would add 6 new early voting stations in the Chattanooga area. That number now been reduced down to 2, which is a feasible plan. Each new additional location will cost the city $15,000, something which the city budget, they say, can handle. Early voting starts in February. Word coming in from the TFP that the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport officials have approved a no-bid contract. This is for a new parking arrangement with the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport and Republic Parking. So Republic, a local company, will continue to serve parking needs for the Chattanooga Metropolitan Airport. And the second annual Feed the Community event has been dedicated to the memory of the victims of the Woodmore bus crash, which occurred last month. The organizer of the event is the uncle of a child who was the victim of that bus crash. The purpose of the event is to hand out meals to those in need and to bring unity to the community.
Expect fair to partly cloudy skies to continue through your nighttime. Not as cold overnight, lows into the upper 30s to near 40. Now for your Thursday, some sunshine. Pretty nice day. High temperatures near 55. For Friday, continued dry with highs back into the lower 50s. Did you know that you could purchase a home now with little or nothing down? Find your dream home with McBriar Realty. Call McBriar Realty at 706-657-2353 or McBriarRealty.com. And I'm Sports Team 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
How about we change that to built in the USA? For over 21 years, Affordable Computers has been building computers right here in the good old USA, in Chattanooga, using the highest quality parts and components in every new computer they build. Tell us the exact system you need, we'll build it to your specifications. Or you can choose from a wide selection of our PCs and laptops, starting at under $200. All Affordable Computers are upgradable, guaranteed. Affordable Computers services their computers in store, typically within 1 to 3 days. And when you call, they answer the phone. You get support within minutes that you can understand. Affordable Computers of Chattanooga. And service and support extends for the life of the computer, not just for the warranty of the PC. So there's no reason to shop anywhere else. Call Affordable Computers now on Highway 58 Chattanooga, 423-499-1975. That's 423-499-1975.
Or visit our Fort O store, 706-858-5888.
There's a reason why Alliance Physical Therapy is a choice of professionals and those who care about first-class, top-notch service and treatment. Because at Alliance Physical Therapy of Chattanooga, we don't just treat the symptoms in your body. Whether you're suffering from stiffness, muscle spasms, back pain, chronic headaches every day, stress of life demanding more and more of you, Alliance Physical Therapy takes a holistic approach to healing, mind, body, and soul. Alliance Physical Therapy with a location near you and 9 others in the Chattanooga area. If you don't have a doctor or if your physician's plan for chronic pain is not working, Alliance Physical Therapy will help. Visit Alliance Physical Therapy on the web at nopainpt.com. That's nopainpt.com. Alliance Physical Therapy.
Cash, 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 and more cash. Hey, where do you think Santa shops? Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. He made a special stop to tell Rick, slash those prices 50 to 70%. Ooh, ho, ho. That's right. Get 50 to 70% off right now for Christmas at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. Even Rick's not going to say no to Santa. No, no, no. Don't wait till after Christmas. It'll be way too late. Get your cash, cash, cash right now for your gold, your silver, your diamonds, and jewelry, and save 50 to 70% off. On a $100 item, it's only $30. On a $1,000 item, $300. Has Rick gone mad?
Well, maybe a little.
No, we think he's just Christmassy. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, 50% off right now. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. You know where it is. Hey, is that Santa? Cash, 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 and more cash.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240, Noogaradio.com, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today, making me just a small part of your day. You know that I appreciate you. I was talking about the bigger trends in 2016 that just seemed really interesting to me. Mostly that sports and politics got really close together, possibly the closest it has been since the 60s. I mean, I don't know. And I know when I was growing up, and maybe I was just too young, and so I didn't remember it clearly or properly, but I just don't recall athletes being this politically active. And they were in the 60s, before my time, obviously. But when you look at what guys like Muhammad Ali were able to do and guys like Jim Brown were able to do, it's hard to look at their influence in race relations and all of those things and look at that and go, okay, well, that doesn't matter. It's huge that those guys had the courage to put themselves out there and make themselves targets, despite the fact that they were icons and that their popularity could have suffered in a number of different ways. I think that was one thing that athletes did get to. That point happened where you worried more about your endorsements and you worried more about people knowing what you thought than you going out there and saying something and trying to affect change in the world in a way that you believe is helpful. For instance, like Tom Brady most likely voted for Donald Trump because he wrote a letter to Donald Trump congratulating Donald Trump on his victory. He has spent time with Donald Trump before, and it was something that Tom Brady was trying to cover up and hide, like it was some kind of embarrassing sore or some kind of third arm that was like sticking out of his body. Like you really shouldn't have to. If you really believe, and you're Tom Brady, that Donald Trump is the best candidate for America, why are you hiding it like that? Well, obviously he's hiding it because of endorsements. Tom Brady does not want to be seen as a political entity in any way. He doesn't want to be seen as somebody who could lose respect of his teammates or lose respect of his fan base because he's endorsing Donald Trump. Fair enough. But that's just your opinion. Like, he really shouldn't be in that position. I'm one of those guys. I think that athletes should speak out more. I've mentioned it a number of times on this show. I'm not a big fan of Trump. Not at all. And I don't know if you can pick up on that from the things that I say, but I mean, I'm not a big Trump fan. But if Tom Brady went out and endorsed Donald Trump, I would have no problem with it. I can't say I like it when guys speak up, and then Tom Brady says something I don't like or I don't appreciate, and all of a sudden the world's coming to an end. It's whatever. You know, I don't agree with him, but I also understand that there are plenty of reasons that a person would vote for Donald Trump beyond racism, which is what people seem to really think. You could have voted for him for any litany of reasons. And so what I'm driving at is like the politics and sports are usually like NFL quarterbacks and politics. The quarterbacks will never tell you anything. Quarterbacks want to be boring. Coaches like to be boring. Boring, if you're in those positions, is good. And very rarely do you get to be like Greg Popovich, have an opinion, and people are still cool with it. But then again, the NBA is different from the NFL. The NFL is not about personality or even really having one. So this year, to me, 2016 kind of marks this landmark year where you were able to voice your opinion and you're LeBron James and know for an absolute fact. And maybe that's just where we are in marketing, but know for an absolute fact that it's not going to affect your popularity at all. LeBron James went out and endorsed Hillary Clinton, was on the stage with her in Ohio while she was campaigning. Ohio, of course, being a swing state that she did, of course, end up losing. But his desire to see change in the country led him to do that. And it has not affected the way that people think about LeBron James in any way, as it shouldn't. I like that this is the new normal. I don't want people to have to like hide what they think and what their opinions are on things. That's not to say go out and say whatever it is that you want to everybody. But at the same time, if you believe, you know what, you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, you want people to know that, there shouldn't be any blowback from that for you. Understand that we all want the same thing for the country. We all want it to be great. Where and how it is that happens is what we disagree on. We disagree on the methodology. We don't necessarily agree on what that looks like, but we all agree that like this, we want what's best for America. Like nobody wants the economy to be terrible, and nobody wants race relations to move backwards and everything else, which is why I'm hoping, even though I'm not a big Trump fan, I'm hoping that Donald Trump has a good presidency. I don't get anything from America not improving. I live here. So that to me, I like that we've gotten to the point where everybody is able to politically express themselves with not the greatest number of blowback. Especially, I mean, you've still got guys like Colin Kaepernick. You do something like that, and I think that's a little bit more complicated than I'm endorsing a candidate, because now you've attached your protest to the flag, and the flag has all of these extra meanings too, and patriotism and everything else. So I understand why that gets to be a little bit more complicated, but overall, this is a different scenario than what it used to be, where guys are trying to hide their opinions and not express anything and not say anything really. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and NoogaRadio.com. The NFL is going to expand the Rooney Rule. They're going to expand the Rooney Rule, which is already a sort of affirmative action rule that requires that all NFL teams interview at least one minority candidate before going on to interview anybody else. And I know that there are a lot of people that have some trouble with this rule, but I like the rule. I like the rule. And I like that they're going to expand it, because you've got a lot of talented coaches. And look, we understand that this league is a carousel, right? I'm not even talking about racism right now. I'm just talking about the same guys get hired over and over and over and over and over again, right? Like Mike Smith was fired from the Falcons like 2 seasons ago. And Mike Smith, now defensive coordinator with the Buccaneers, and people are talking about Mike Smith. His name is in a few job coaching talks. You know what I'm saying? We keep hiring these guys over and over and over again. It's a carousel. You see a guy pop up on a different team, and maybe he's a good fit there, maybe he's not, but it's okay because he'll find a job somewhere else. So you never inject any new blood into this. And coaches and coordinators have historically been white. So if those are the people you're recycling, you're not going to get to any talented possible minority candidates. You're just not going to. Like, this is just beyond racism at this point, which also plays a part. It's not anything that's overt, but you're going to hire people from a pool that you know. And if that pool that you know does not involve people of color, you will not be interviewing or hiring people of color. So I like this rule. Okay, I think that it balances that field a little bit in terms of getting people a chance. I'm not talking about hire a guy that doesn't deserve to be hired. And the league is not forcing you to hire a minority candidate. They are simply asking you to talk to one first. Talk to one first. And then, you know what? If you don't like the guy, move on. No one's asking you or making you hire anybody. So the fact that this rule is being opened up to the coordinator positions is very exciting, because when you look around the NFL and you see the number of coaches that are minorities in the league, it's very few. But it's certainly more than there used to be. And it's because of that rule. That since the Rooney Rule was instituted, you've had Denny Green be a head coach. You've got Jim Caldwell right now. You've got Mike Tomlin, who's on the Steelers, where the Rooney Rule originated. I mean, you've got all of these head coaches. You've got Ron Rivera with the Panthers. There's a number of guys that you see out there that are doing a good job in this league and coaching really, really well. Like Caldwell is coaching really well. Tomlin coaching really well. He's gotten a Super Bowl. If he gets another one at some point in his career, and the Steelers always threaten to get one every single year, if Tomlin gets one, then it's hard to deny the effectiveness of that rule. Like if Tomlin gets another one, right? Or if Caldwell ever gets the Lions to one, which is just hard because they're the Lions and they're cursed. Right? Todd Bowles is doing a pretty solid job with the Jets, given the talent that he has, which is none, because he started the season with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and nobody's winning with that guy. Right? Like, look how much better the Texans are without him. And they had Brock Osweiler, for cripe's sake. So having this expand to the coordinators is only going to give more guys more opportunities, and it helps the teams too. Because you now have to look at one more candidate, and maybe you're looking at a talented candidate who would not have been looked at in any other circumstance, maybe not even because of race, but because of his age or whatever, but because you're kind of being forced into this situation. You're actually kind of forced to open up all kinds of borders just because of that one. So I like it. I think that it only helps. And hopefully that door can be expanded and opened to women as well, because there's no good reason why women can't coach football. Right? The special teams coach for the Bills, that is a female special teams coach that has all of those sexist things tossed at her from people who see her and all of those things. I don't understand that at all, the way people react to her. But for some reason, for some strange reason, we don't like women in sports. I had a friend of mine tell me that he didn't like a couple of female sports talk hosts over on the 4-letter because he just didn't like women telling him sports. Like, he just didn't want to hear about sports from women. And I have no idea why that is. Whenever women get into this leadership role in sports, we recoil at it. But nobody has a problem when men coach women. You know what I mean? Like I'm all for gender roles. Like I think that there are certain roles that women do better than men and that men do better than women. And I think that those things feel like they're fairly unchangeable. I'm all for what this is, but like then there are things that are not as defined, like basketball coach or football coach. And you're telling me a woman can't do that? A woman can't understand the X's and O's and communicate those X's and O's in a way that players will understand? I mean, the San Antonio Spurs won the NBA Summer League, which I know nobody cares about, but their coach was Becky Hammond, a Spurs assistant coach and a woman, and she coached the Spurs, albeit their Summer League team, to win the title of the Summer League. That's huge. I mean, it proves, at least on some scale, there is a scale that exists where a woman can be a head coach and she can be tactically sound, she can express what she's saying, and men will listen to her. Because I feel like that's where the issue is coming from. That for some reason, there's this belief that you just got to shelter the women from all these angry men. I'm hoping what this does, this coordinator rule, is it spreads to other people in positions where they don't have equal opportunities as well. And the NFL, to its eternal credit, as much as I bash the NFL for how much they try and silence players and how much I bash the league for the sort of taking away of freedom that everybody has in that league. Coaches can't say anything because they end up getting fined for just insinuating something about the referees, and players can't celebrate. You can't point at anybody. You can't shake hands, apparently. You can't do any of these things. As much as I bash the league for that stuff, I do accept that the NFL is ahead of the curve when it comes to making sure that everyone has got equal opportunities to succeed in the NFL. That if you are a black coordinator who's been very good for a long time, you deserve a shot at being interviewed. Like not even being hired. You just deserve a shot at the interview. So you've seen that. And the NFL's been on the forefront of that, of having females in roles as referees, which is another role that just, the NFL's got a female ref and people just start losing their minds. Like she's going to make a call on the field and the players are just not going to listen to her. She's a woman. It's just this fear of having women in leadership positions that I just think that we are just not yet ready for. We just apparently are not yet ready for it. It's pretty, I don't know. I don't think we're ready. I don't think that's the reason why like Hillary didn't become president. I think Hillary is somebody who got embroiled in a lot of illegal and unethical situations. I think that's why she's not president. And then the Russians exposed it all. That's why she's not president, but not because she's a woman, but like when you look at how people react to women in leadership positions, you do realize that it is something of an uphill climb there. And so the NFL expanding the Rooney Rule, I think ultimately has long-term benefits going on down the road. I'm all for it. I don't think there's anything to be said about that. And I didn't get a chance to talk about Tim Duncan earlier in the week. Tim Duncan had his retirement ceremony with the San Antonio Spurs, and it was one of those moments where you sit there, you try not to cry, you cry a lot. I grew up in San Antonio, so that one was a hard one for me. I'm realizing that I'm getting old. This is a way to realize that you're getting old, is guys are just retiring that you thought would never leave the league. Tim Duncan played basketball for 20 years. I just never thought Tim Duncan would be done playing basketball, right? Like a player that you grew up watching, and now players that I grew up watching in my lifetime that have retired, Allen Iverson, Kobe, Shaq, Tim Duncan, the list continues to grow. And with each passing year, I feel older and older. The players that I root for now are the same age as me, so it will not be too long before the players I will be rooting for are the age of my youngest brother, who is 9 years younger than me, and then basically there'll be children in my eyes before I know it. So this is the place that I am in my life. And watching Tim Duncan's retirement ceremony, I realized that, watching one of the all-time greats play basketball, there's nothing quite like it. And you miss those guys when they're gone. I was not ready. I knew it was coming, and I was not ready. Tim Duncan retired quietly into the night. He didn't have the sort of tour that Kobe Bryant had the year before, where Kobe Bryant would play in another city and everybody would come out to see, Kobe's last games. Yeah, it wasn't anything like that. It's just like how Tim Duncan would go out when he was ready to go. Just one of those things that makes you appreciate, like, a guy playing basketball like that. If you look at the Spurs situation, the Spurs haven't skipped a beat in like 20 years. And when you look at a city like that, San Antonio, it's not very big. The Spurs are their only professional team. I'd like to see Chattanooga in that situation. I'd like to see Chattanooga with a team that just kind of is constantly good. Even if that team's a college team, like if it's the Mocs, I'm cool. Like if the Mocs are consistently good for like 20 years and they're just one of those organizations, they're always in the NCAA tournament. They're always contending for a national title. I would be cool with that. I'm down with the Mocs being that for this city. But I think when you're a city that you're not like a major city, right? You're not New York, Boston, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami. When you're not one of those cities, I think the consistency of always being good is just what people want from you. Like, that's all they want. That's all they'll settle for. They won't even go, hey, let's get us a ring every year, even though if you're consistently good, you're going to get chances for that. People will just appreciate that you have a high level of quality over and over again. I'd like to see Chattanooga be a city like that. And I don't know what our Tim Duncan would be, but that would be pretty awesome. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, NoogaRadio.com. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Mark Truex Jr. is off the pace and he is headed to the pit lane. Elliott Powers around the outside. Michael McDowell pops the right front tire. Here's Mark Truex to the bottom. Blaney blocked him off too. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott went 4 wide on the back straightaway. They're side by side for the lead.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. News Talk 1240. The voice of NASCAR.
Is your career careening, maybe sagging, wheezing? Let me suggest a job with huge income potential. Dealing with people. Call Steve or Jada for a confidential interview. 855-8484. 855-8484. Maybe the most important call you make all year.
Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Need to sell your house? Want to buy another house? Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Our goals are simple. If you're selling, we get you the best price possible in the quickest amount of time with the least amount of hassle. Our agents are professional, competent, and courteous. We stay in touch every step of the way. If you're buying, we make sure you get all the information necessary to choose the right house in the right location at the best price. Exit Realty is one of the fastest growing real estate companies in North America. Our agents have extensive training, state-of-the-art technology, and full support that allows us to do the best job possible for you. If you're in the market to buy or sell, call us today. 423-551-EXIT. That's 423-551-3948. If you're an agent or considering a career in real estate, call us today. See what Exit Realty can do for you. No desk fees, residual income, technology to the max, and people first. Call us today, 551-EXIT. That's 551-3948. We're located at 7610 Hamilton Park Drive, just off the Bonnie Oaks exit. And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
At Eyer Optical, it's a well-known fact. When you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. But did you know Eyer Optical has the largest eyeglass selection in the area, with top-name brands and styles in the latest trends? Schedule your appointment with one of the doctors today for a comprehensive eye exam. And remember, when you buy one pair of glasses, you get a second pair absolutely free. Visit EyerOptical.com for a location near you.
Eyer Optical. Finding just the right place to live can be a daunting task. Stop your search. In Chattanooga, the place to live is Cross Creek Villas for under $1,000 and available for immediate move-in. You can enjoy this 2-bedroom split layout, over 1,000 square feet, 9-foot ceilings, an extra large patio or balcony. And don't forget to ask about their preferred employer program. Cross Creek Villas is a gated community, offering a 24-hour fitness facility, a beautiful pool and hot tub, and Cross Creek Villas is pet friendly. Stroll the pet park with your best friend and enjoy the free use of their business center and clubhouse.
Think of markets
Plus,
falling
if you
so
mention you heard
rapidly
this
that there are
on
no
the radio,
buyers. When the debt bubble pops, that's what'll happen. The good people, as I call them, will tumble down into their own trap. Join me, David Tulis, each weekday at 9. Together, let's consider solutions to national breakdown. Where do you fit in? Can you preserve capital? Increase it even among family members and small businesses here in Chattanooga. 9 o'clock, David Tulis, News Talk Radio. Can we wring opportunity from calamity? Will Chattanoogans prosper amid the death of centralization and its legacy system with its Yankee presidents, 1040 forms, foreign wars, death mills, soul-killing schools, and its grinding the poor court systems? Nooga centrists such as I say yes. We say near is better than far, small better than big, personal than corporate, physical than abstract. Could these claims possibly be true? Are they seeds for future plantings and harvests? Let's find out. David Tulis, 9 weekdays.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If the South would have won, we'd have had it made. I'd probably run for president of the Southern states. The day Elvis passed away would be our national holiday.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Pam Coulter. German authorities are stepping up their search for Anis Amri, whose ID was found in the truck used in the Berlin Christmas market attack. CBS's Charlie D'Agata.
He's described as a Tunisian national who came into this country in July of 2015. Now, this is at the height of this surge of migrants coming into Germany, so he piggybacked on the back of that. Now, earlier this year, he was turned down for asylum, and he should have been deported, but he wasn't.
Sky News reporter Mark White.
We have this evening heard about 2 raids that police commandos have taken part in at 2 addresses in Berlin as they try to look for the suspect. He was not, though, found at any of those addresses. There have been similar searches and raids in other areas of the country.
President-elect Donald Trump believes the attacks overseas justify his tough immigration stand.
President-elect Donald Trump was joined by his national security advisor, General Michael Flynn, for an intelligence briefing about the terror attacks overseas. Mr. Trump has attributed the attacks to radical Islamists and said they prove that he is right to consider a ban on Muslims entering the country.
CBS's Michelle Macaluso. Despite rising premiums, fewer insurer choices, and Republican vows to repeal Obamacare, nearly 6.5 million people signed up for coverage during open enrollment. Health Secretary Sylvia Burwell.
Each and every one of the 6.4 million people enrolled represents a story about how the ACA has changed healthcare in America and why coverage matters.
The North Carolina Senate has just voted down a proposal to repeal the controversial transgender bathroom law. State Senator Jeff Jackson says Republican lawmakers are not following through on suggestions they'd repeal the law if cities like Charlotte dropped their protection of transgender rights.
Charlotte was told over and over again, Charlotte, if you take the first step, you will be met halfway. Charlotte finally did that, and now they're getting shoved one more time.
Honda and a tech giant are teaming up to produce self-driving cars. WWJ's Jeff Gilbert with details.
Honda confirming it's entering into formal discussions with a company now called Waymo, Google's automated car unit. Honda says if the talks bear fruit, they'd integrate Waymo's technology into Honda vehicles. This is similar to the deal that Waymo currently has with Fiat Chrysler to modify 100 minivans to drive themselves. The goal is to make these vehicles part of test fleets.
A federal judge has given preliminary approval to a $25 million settlement between the president-elect and former students of Trump University who claimed they were defrauded. The Dow off 32 today, NASDAQ slipped 12. This is CBS News.
Do you have $10,000 or more in outstanding federal student loans? Well, you may qualify to have your entire student loan forgiven with one free call. That's right. If you're a teacher, police officer, firefighter, or work for a nonprofit, you may qualify for new federal programs to have your entire student loan forgiven. Graduate Service Center wants to give you free information on all the programs that can help. And the sooner you call, the faster you can get relief. Get the maximum loan forgiveness, loan reduction, or consolidation available. Plus, find out in the first free call what you qualify for. A loan forgiveness specialist is standing by to answer all of your questions for free. So stop worrying about student loan payments. If you have $10,000 or more in federal student loans, this information could change your life. Call 800-801-4950. 800-801-4950. Wipe out your federal student loan debt. Find out how. Call 800-801-4950. That's 800-801-4950.
If your kids have moved back home, you're not alone. The percentage of young adults living with relatives is at a 75-year high.
Nearly 40% of young people lived with their parents, siblings, or other relatives last year, according to real estate tracker Trulia. That's the largest number since 1940. Senior economist Cheryl Young says even though the economy and job growth are up,
we do know that wages are still pretty stagnant.
Plus, rents are rising in many cities and mortgage lending standards are tough, meaning
millennials are taking more time than previous generations to enter the start the home buying process.
Allison Keyes, CBS News, Washington.
A suburban Chicago man thinks he did not get extra value out of his extra value meal, so he's suing McDonald's restaurants in 2 Illinois counties. James Gertie says bundling 2 cheeseburgers, medium fries, and a drink actually cost 41 cents more than if the items were purchased individually. He wants Mickey D's to stop doing that. Pam Coulter, CBS News.
Here's what advertisers are saying about AM 1240. HotNewsTalkRadio.com.
Radio station, they really care. They're always calling me probably once a week, checking on me, seeing how things going, see if they want to change any of the ads or do anything different, seeing what my needs are. I've gotten business off the ads that you do for me, and seems to be working well at this point.
Prices were very fair. Areas in this town that we aren't able to get other ways, your radio station is able to help us out, and I really appreciate that.
We've been very pleased with the services we've got. It seems like everybody over there cares about what
what they're going to do, how it's going to work for us on this end. And we've been very impressed with the creativity of the ads that we've heard, and they always seem to be right on point, even without us having to come up with what's going to be said.
I've been doing business with News Talk Radio for quite some time. It's the best place and the best value you can get for your advertisement. The commercials are great. They're very professional. I was actually blown away.
The commercial that they put together was awesome. It was way far above all the other radio stations we've dealt with. The best we've had yet, guarantee you, by far.
AM 1240 HotNewsTalkRadio.com gets results. Let us get results for your business. For no obligation free consultation, call General Sales Manager Steve Johnson. Call 423-240-5459. That's 240-5459. Or you can always email Steve at NougaRadioSteve@gmail.com. That's NougaRadioSteve@gmail.com. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We get results.
Circles to the story that's up on Infowars.com that needs to go viral. Now, as if that isn't bad enough, we have Michelle Obama running around. And by the way, she looks like a snapping turtle. I don't say she looks like a snapping turtle because she's black, and I just like black people. I know a lot of really good-looking black ladies. It's because she looks like a hateful snapping turtle who's a man. She looks like a tranny. And, of course, I say that so the media attacks me because everybody hates the media, and they just come to us with media attacks. And the media hadn't figured out how much they're hated, so they keep taking the bait. But, sorry, video, Michelle Obama compares Americans to toddlers. Now, I compare myself to an albino gorilla, so it's okay to insult people, isn't it, if you can turn around and say it about yourself. But getting serious, that's what my kids call me. They go, you look like a gorilla, Daddy. You're hairy like one, Daddy. I do kind of have a chest like a gorilla. In fact, the guys, this morning we were out exercising, and they were calling me a gorilla. So anyways, continuing, that was Q and Pat, and my son was out with us this morning exercising, hiking, and it was all big funny about how I look like a gorilla. Better than a snapping turtle. Now continuing, U.S. confidence surges to highest level that Gallup has ever recorded on Trump phobia, but that's okay. He's a bad person. He doesn't know what he's doing. Michelle Obama and Michael Moore, they know everything. Meanwhile, she compares people that voted, the American people for Trump, as toddlers that hit their head. She's the mommy. We're the idiots. Here she is with Oprah Winfrey. Let's analyze this propaganda.
Your husband's administration, everything, the election was all about hope. Do you think that this administration achieved that?
Yes, I do, because we feel the difference now.
Racial division, worst
now
ever.
We're feeling what not having hope feels like.
Oh, the exuberance?
You know,
The economy?
Hope is necessary. It's a necessary concept. And Barack didn't just talk about hope because he thought it was just a nice slogan to get votes. I mean, he and I and so many believe that what else do you have if you don't have hope?
Yeah.
What do you give your kids if you can't give them hope? You know, our children respond to crises the way they see us respond. You know, it's like the toddler that bumps his head on the table and they look up at you to figure out whether it hurts. And if you're like, oh my God, they're crying. But if you're like, you know what, babe, it's okay. It's okay. And I feel that way about the nation. I feel that Barack has been that for the nation in ways that people will come to appreciate.
Oh, that's enough. So Barack Obama is our daddy, and we've hit our head. She's talking about her constituents. She's not talking about the people that she thinks are idiots that voted for Trump. She's saying her constituents are like toddlers that have hit their head. That's about what they're like, actually. And they look up to her, and she goes, that's okay, baby. It's going to be all right. I mean, the arrogance, the elitism. These are the folks that go to Africa and tell people they can't have cars or air conditioning as he walks off Air Force One with 10 planes behind him and thousands of people. And carbon footprints bigger than anything you can imagine, and $50 million a day being spent. But you can't have a house or a car or an air conditioner.
Paul Krugman wants you to know that he is smarter than you. He's an American economist, distinguished professor of economics, and writer for the New York Times. Yesterday, Krugman posted a short article on his Twitter account warning America about what he calls Trumponomics. He says to join the Trump administration, you have to be a white nationalist and, here comes the C word, a conspiracy theorist. Most of us living outside inside the Matrix know better than to take Krugman seriously because he's been wrong so many times in the past. It was Paul Krugman himself who predicted back in 1998 the drastically slow growth of the internet. And I'm going to quote him here. By 2005, it will be clear that the internet's impact on the economy has been no greater than the fax machine. And you can learn more about Paul Krugman's liberal logic right now at Infowars.com.
I am very proud to announce the introduction of the highest quality Infowars Biome Defense Probiotic. We wanted to come out with the largest spectrum of high quality known probiotics that have been proven to improve overall digestion and health and detoxification in the body. Biome Defense is an exclusive blend of 50 billion live and active cultures from over 23 different probiotic strains that are known to support digestion and intestinal function. Our researchers are confident that we have been able to develop what will be the leading probiotic on the market. Secure your Biome Defense in ultra strength or regular strength at InfoWarsLife.com today and get started supporting your digestive system naturally. We've been testing this formula for years, but this is the limited first run to the public, so please take advantage of it today. Support your own health and support the InfoWar. Please listen carefully because I'm about to point out 3 things that will save you a lot of money while you get high quality products and fund the InfoWar. A 360 win. Number 1, when you choose auto ship before checkout, we give you 10% off on your order at InfoWarsStore.com. Number 2, you're also able to get items that are out of stock when you sign up for auto ship because we hold back a surplus for auto ship customers. Number 3, we're giving you free shipping on all orders above $50. Listeners have been requesting this for years because it's so easy to forget to reorder the products that you need each month. Just go to InfoWarsStore.com, select your favorite product or products, click on auto ship, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. As you know, I coined the term 360 win, and with the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com, this is a sure win. 10% off on auto ship. Win, win, win at InfoWarsLife.com. Free shipping on orders above $50. And all out of stock items are never out of stock when you sign up for auto ship. The
answer to 1984 is 1776. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
So Michelle Obama comes out with Oprah Winfrey and insults her supporters. We played the full clip in context earlier. I'm going to play it again in a moment, just the short part, where she says, I see the nation as toddlers that hit their head on a table and they look up at mommy and you just got to tell them everything's all right. We're going to bleed you dry. She didn't actually say what she was thinking. But she says, we're going to, take care of you. That's how she sees her constituents, as a bunch of toddlers. And I got to say, we've gone out and seen their constituents. They do look like a bunch of toddlers who've been through shock therapy and then a lobotomy with an ice pick. And then the rest of them are a bunch of parasites feeding on the lobotomized toddlers. So it's a very, very sad situation indeed. We have Chris Hayes, we covered last hour. It's up on Infowars.com. Trying to cover up right now the fact that it's Islamic terror that killed the ambassador in Turkey and ran over the people at the Christmas festival there in Berlin. Whatever happened to Berlin? Well, I guess it's been brainwashed. That's what's going on. They're in Berlin. And of course, you should add, in the state of Berlin, it has its own state, their Secretary of State, it calls for Sharia law just last week. She's a woman. She doesn't wear a burqa in public, but she wants you to have to wear one. And Muslim men have announced in France that if they see women out without burqas or in French cafes, they're going to have Sharia law caning carried out against them. And the Stockholm Syndrome women, most of them, they love it. They just want to make sure your daughter, your mother, has to put on a burqa as well. So that's all coming up. We also have several guests joining us today. Last hour, I played the video that they have removed because they don't want you to see it. MTV pulls racist resolution for white guys video amid outrage. Quite frankly, this isn't even as bad as some of the videos we had articles on last year. In fact, we should pull some of those videos again, download them and play them, where they have white men going, I'm sorry I caused the war, whites are evil. They're like, that's right. Whites are inherently bad. Learn to say it. Learn to say it. The only good whites, though, are the ones that say whites are inherently bad, and then they can yell, you're an effing white male at another white male. Your opinion doesn't matter. So this is what they're pushing. We're going to be looking at that in great detail. We've got a lot of really exciting economic news I want to get to first. And Paul Krugman has really gone to the next level. But first, before I do that, let's play the clip again that's up on Infowars.com. Michelle Obama compares Americans to toddlers. Her constituents particularly, they've hit their head, they're looking up at mommy, and she'll make it all okay.
Our children respond to crises the way they see us respond. You know, it's like the toddler that bumps his head on the table and they look up at you to figure out whether it hurts. And if you're like, oh my God, they're crying. But if you're like, you know what, babe, it's okay. It's okay. And I feel that way about the nation. I feel that Barack has been that for the nation in ways that people will come to appreciate. Having a grown-up in the White House who can say to you in times of crisis and turmoil, hey, it's going to be okay. Let's remember the good things that we have. Let's look at the future. Let's look at all the things that we're building. All of this is important for our kids to stay focused. That's right. And to feel,
keep the cult focused.
Like their work isn't in vain.
To not look at how your unemployment's doubled if you're black.
What do we do if we don't have hope, Oprah?
To not see how your families have been broken up. To not see how you've been putting president in jail by the Democrats pledging to put, quote, the predators in jail, take them to heel, domesticate you, which they did in the 60s. Just stay on the plantation. She'll take good care of you toddlers. Well, I don't want to be a toddler. What about you? I want to be a man. Women want to be women. We want to be free. Now, before I get to Paul Krugman blowing both of his proverbial political feet off again with incredible statements and what's really happening in the economy to his chagrin, before I do that, I want to air a piece that will certainly trigger folks. First, for TV viewers, let's put it on screen in front of me and then behind me. Paul Watson tweeted today, the ultimate triggering. Merry Christmas. Doesn't Christmas feel a little more special this year? Making Christmas great again. And for radio listeners, it's got the baby Jesus. It's got the American flag, President of the United States. It's got Trump all happy, presiding over it all, with Santa Claus back there as well. And little presents under the tree and snow falling. It's so nice. Winter festival. Don't say Christmas. Don't even say holiday now. Let the triggering begin. Well, it was Gingrich a few weeks ago likened Trump to the grizzly bear in The Revenant, tearing Leonardo DiCaprio apart. Much as I can't stand Leonardo DiCaprio and his politics, I like him as an actor. Great movie. Very historical. Just stop gushing. The Mexican director, I think, is the best. I forget his name. Best director out there. They call that racism. I just say he's a Mexican director, like the Russian director. But I said the word Mexican and racist. I think he's the best director out there. Racist. We're admiring someone. See the mind control? Just totally putting us into a catatonic basket case, learned helplessness, mind control system where we don't communicate with each other because we want to be correct and nothing's correct. Everything's bad. Only CNN can tell us about WikiLeaks. So I'm going to retweet during the break at Real Alex Jones. Doesn't Christmas feel more special this year? We're going to retweet that out to everyone. And I want to encourage my graphics folks to also put out some politically incorrect stuff as well. Maybe even the little baby Jesus on it. I love little baby Jesus, to quote Talladega Nights. But before we do that, let's go ahead and play the Revenant piece here, where someone took the point of what Gingrich was talking about and put it to the big screen.
Donald Trump is the grizzly bear in The Revenant.
First of all, Rand Paul shouldn't even be on this stage. Jeb Bush is a low-energy person. Carson is lower energy than Bush. I don't get it.
If you're a child molester, there's no cure.
I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. I could have said, Mitt, drop to your knees. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay?
I've never seen
a human being eat in such a disgusting fashion. They're losers. They're babies. It's Rubio. Little Marco. And he's not cool. He sweats too much. And then, of course, we have Crooked Hillary, folks. She's been crooked from the beginning. As I say, Crooked Hillary. She's as crooked as they come. You see Crooked Hillary Clinton?
Such a nasty one.
Trust fund. Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Do we like the media? Do we hate the media? They are terrible. They are the worst. Sleazy guy right over here from ABC.
Blood coming out of her wherever. Whoever even heard of her before the last debate.
Katie Turk. Little Katie. The world's most dishonest people are back there. Sit down. Go back to Univision. The CNN is terrible. Lion Ted. You know, Lion Ted talking about New York values with scorn in his face. We have Lion Ted Cruz.
He's a liar. Bible high. Puts it down and then he lies.
She said he's a pussy. That's terrible. It's LYIN'. Lion Ted.
You know, I call him Lion Ted. I've heard that.
With goofy friend named Elizabeth Warren. She is a goofus. She's a basket case. Goofy Elizabeth Warren. Pocahontas?
Very offensive.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Pocahontas?
Bernie Sanders is speaking. And these two young women came up and they took over the microphone. They just took the whole place over. And he walked away. He looked so weak and so pathetic.
But Bill Clinton was abusive to women.
You know, she gained a massive amount of weight.
Pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account.
Only Rosie O'Donnell. And your mother is voting for Trump.
By the way, I mean, they call us racist and terrorist and homophobes and just every other name in the book. And then when we respond back, we're bad, we're mean. By the way, they've been reminding me, I didn't plug once in the last hour, and I even skipped a break. That's why I want to thank all the listeners for supporting us when I do talk about the specials and the products that we have. By the way, we've done such a good job this year of not over-ordering product that we're not going to have basically anything left when the new year hits for a few weeks. Most of our nutraceuticals are going to be sold out, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But that's how we fund our operations. But I've been trying to budget things and be a little bit tighter here so I can save money to hire more crew and also pay our people better because they really deserve it. I want to thank you all for your support, but you're getting great supplements, great products, great non-GMO seeds, great water filtration systems, great apparel to spread the word and fight the globalists and the info war. But our 2016 Christmas super sale specials are quickly selling out. So you can't get stuff delivered before Christmas in most areas of the United States now. It's just not going to happen. But it doesn't matter. You need to stock up on colloidal silver, still 50% off, Silver Bullet, still 33% off on Brain Force, now 20% more in each bottle on top of that. Sign up for auto ship, an additional 10% off. There's so many specials, I can't go over them all. Winter Sun, 25% off. DNA Force, 25% off. Well, that's sold out. Survival Shield X2, 30% off. That's about to sell out. Bio True Selenium, about to sell out. I'm going to be in here in the next few weeks pitching T-shirts and water filters and stuff, which you really need, obviously, but not the nutraceuticals because they're going to be sold out. So please help us at the year-end sale blow all this out so we don't have to pay tax on it. Plus, you can stock up on high-quality products you're going to be using. Again, selenium, key to electrochemical activity in the body. Go read the study for yourself. It is incredible. Same thing for the true nascent iodine that we have. Quite frankly, nobody else has it. InfoWarsLife.com. Super Blue is $9.95. We're about to sell out of that. It has colloidal silver and iodine. You can pay $14.95 so we can fund the operation. It's a new thing I'm doing. You can pay full retail or discount, depending on what you want to do. And folks are taking advantage of that. A lot of folks are paying for it full retail to help us fund the operation. So thank you for the support. God bless you for, again, your support, your prayers this Christmas. InfoWarsLife.com. Free shipping store-wide, up to 50% off until everything sells out. Stay with us. We'll be back.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
Did you know your car can be hacked just like your computer or phone? Hackers can hijack the signal of your own key fob to burglarize your vehicle in seconds. The Black Hole Faraday key fob bag is a signal impenetrable shield that stops these hacks in their tracks. Protect one of your most valuable assets. Go to hackproofbag.com. That's hackproofbag.com and use promo code RADIO to get 20% off. Or call 805-222-4584. 805-222-4584.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA pack technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon. Or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
Good evening to you. My name is Charlie Sailors. I'm coming at you from fetalrecords.com. Now, we got a great Christmas album coming at you. I'm not the only one on it. Many artists giving you different bouquets of styles and feelings of the Christmas spirit. Now, again, fetalrecords.com. Charlie Sailors. And have a Merry Christmas.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA pack technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon. Or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
I'm David Hall, founder of Diamond Gusset Jeans, here to wish you all a Merry Christmas. For over 20 years, we have built a loyal customer base with 100% American-made jeans featuring enhanced fit, comfort, durability, and style. Today, all of our inventory is discounted by 20%, so don't delay. Enjoy a wonderful shopping experience at gusset.com. Thanks for keeping our American dream alive, the original Diamond Gusset jean.
How confident are you in your food storage? If it was all you had to rely on, would it sustain your family? Hard times, good times, or any time, Numana Storable Food is the proven superior choice. Learn for yourself what happened when one man ate only Numana Storable Food for an entire month. Online at powerprepper.com. That's powerprepper.com. Experience the Numana difference.
American-made food stores I love to eat. Yum!
While you were sleeping, they came and took it away.
Coming up in the next segment, when I have time, report Obama threatened Putin with war over election hacking conspiracy theory. President used emergency red phone system to say armed conflict could ensue. Yeah, that's the word out of ambassadors and others. Hillary obviously has talked about the fact that we needed the policy a year ago, which is now the policy of NATO and the U.S. And if they claim there's an attack via cyber attack from the continent of Eurasia, basically, or anywhere in Russian territory, that they are then going to launch a military attack on Russia. You cannot make this level of crap up. In fact, in the next segment, will you guys also just pull up the articles about new U.S. policy to cyber attack includes military attack on Russia? I want to show that to people Because I believe me, it doesn't sound real. I get it. It sounds like a lie. Just like, oh, I've got like 15 or more different MTV videos that actually say whites are inherently bad. The world will be good when they're all gone. We're just people that have less skin pigment from Northern Europe. I mean, it's crazy. And technically, I'm a Mongol because I'm part Native American. But the whole point is so what? This is all craziness, ladies and gentlemen. This is craziness. But they're the ones pushing it because they co-opted the whole libertarian Republican movement to end segregation and all of it in the 60s. The party of the KKK did. But let's get to this big news right now. Paul Krugman, who is wrong almost all the time because he's a disinfo operative, I haven't decided if he is like a total idiot with like a 75 IQ or if it's like some type of like secret comedy he's involved in, because the U.S. economy conference announcement, the U.S. economy when it comes to confidence surges to the highest level that Gallup has ever recorded. Gallup's U.S. Economic Confidence Index has never been higher than it is today, ever. They're calling it Trump euphoria. Now, how does Krugman respond to this? Krugman comes out in the New York Times and says, to join Trump administration, you have to be a white nationalist and a conspiracy theorist. So question known liars and be white, which isn't even true. He goes on to attack the economics that Trump is talking about, trying to have infrastructure spending increase with tax incentives to states, counties, and cities and individuals for infrastructure and for federal funding of infrastructure when our infrastructure is falling apart, despite the fact Krugman has called for this before, because that's just basic Keynesian economics. So he's now going back on what he claims he's an economic follower of. But forget that. Guess what he said in the New York Times in 1998? You cannot make this up. This is when Dinosaur Media was telling itself, don't worry, in an article about the internet, we're still going to be dominant. Remember back in the late 90s, the media was discussing would they be made obsolete, which has now happened? This is at Paul Krugman. The growth of the internet will slow drastically as the flaw in the law, McAfee's law, which states that the number of potential connections